My daughter died mere days before her first birthday. I haven't talked about this much. It's been 8 years now, and I don't share it often. But this year I've decided to talk about it because this is why we fight. Now, you might be feeling pretty awful for me, and you might feel for my little girl that I can't live without. But there's a reason you feel the way you do right now. It's because you live here. You live here where such things are an extreme rarity. There was a time 100 years ago where the infant mortality rate in this country was 1 out of 9 children died in their first year. Some areas of the country, it was 1 out of 4 children died. I could have told you this story, and there would be a good chance you had lived that, and you certainly would have had a family member who had lived it. It wouldn't have the impact to you. Samuel Adams was born to a set of parents that had 12 children. Only 3 of them made it to 3 years old. My story is odd, only because we have a system that makes it odd and horrible. We have a system that makes what happened to Parker the exception and not the rule. And that's why I want to protect this. We went on more out of desperation than anything else to have another child. And it was quite honestly that or more potential suicide for me. Not that I couldn't handle the pain, it's just that when your child is gone, it's your job to be with your child. That's where you need to be. But about 10 months later, another little girl came into my life named Piper. And, well, let's just say that Piper's got me wrapped around her little finger. And she saved my life and does so every day. It was a remarkable and spectacular thing. I'm very, very fortunate. We tried again, had another child. Unfortunately, it was one of those stinky, awful boy things. And my son Chance was born with Down syndrome. He had, in so many terms, so many medical problems, I really can't list them all. He had emergency surgery at 3 weeks old to heal his broken heart. In his 5.5 years life, he has endured 9 surgeries. Matter of fact, when I leave here, I need to go back to Children's, as he's had his 9th today, and he has to stay in for a battery of tests with a tube down his nose, and he's none too happy about that. They have to bind his hands so that so he doesn't pull his tubes out. Here's what's important to me, though. If I lived in pretty much any other country, the horror that I lived through with Parker, I would have lived through one more time with my son Chance. If we had to wait, if I was mandated to have this policy or that policy, if we had to be rationed, if we were any other country, or anywhere else in the world for the most part, I would live through what I lived through before. And I say this humbly, I'm just not man enough to be able to do that again. I cannot handle it. I've done a lot of political fights in my years in politics, and they've been on principle. The fight that I bring this year is one that has my son right on it, and that's to save his life. When Obamacare is coming down the pike, and you see what incredible, brutal, ugly tactics they're using, including reconciliation and pushing out legislators and congressmen to get this through, realize that we have to do more than just say no. We have to say yes to something. Linda Gorman and I put together a ballot proposal called the right to healthcare choice. Colorado has a Bill of Rights in its Constitution, very similar to what the US Constitution has. We want to add one more right to Colorado's Constitution, a right to healthcare choice, which says that government cannot force you into any public or private healthcare plan. Furthermore, it protects direct payment for legal healthcare services. This means, unlike my friends up in Canada who have to escape, we will always have a private healthcare service available for people who want to pay for it. cash for care here in Colorado. My goal with this initiative, beyond to save my son's life, is to make Colorado a sanctuary state for quality health care. It goes up to the title board in a couple weeks. After that, I've got to beg, borrow, and steal as much money in cash and volunteer time as possible to get 100,000 signatures to get it on the ballot, and then we'll see it this fall. A lot of people don't like this because it protects us from Obamacare. We certainly wouldn't be the first. Virginia, just last week passed a statute to protect themselves from a governmental mandate. Virginia. There are at least a dozen other states that are looking to put something on the ballot this fall to keep Obamacare out. This is how we fight Obamacare. We protect Colorado. And I want to urge you all to keep involved with that and keep in contact with us at the Independence Institute, because we will need your help, we'll need your guidance to do this. This is a citizens issue. Representative Cindy Acree in the state legislature tried to put something like this through the legislative process. I know it's a big surprise to you, it died in committee. That legislature will not do anything, and our governor is a fan of Obamacare. This is the time for us to save our own lives. And it might not be my child, but it could well be yours or your grandchild. I didn't expect any of this coming in my life. On a more healing note, children do some pretty amazing things to make you know that they get it. And one day when my daughter, Piper, was about 4 years old, she looked at me, you know, how those innocent eyes can look at you and just stare right into your soul, and you're defenseless. She looked at me with those eyes, and she put out her finger, and she pointed at me and said, "Daddy, pull my finger." I want to thank you all for coming out here.